Hi, hello, привет, Parev. My name is Irma, and I'm a knitter. I am just as shocked as you are. I started knitting December, like Christmas time of 2022, so it's been a little over a year since I learned. I'd like to talk about everything I made in 2023 and everything I learned and how little I knit for myself. What was I doing? Clearly knitting for other people, as you will see shortly. So starting off with a knit for my partner AJ. My first ever knit, a trusty little scarf. Now, this scarf has many problems. For starters, if you knit, you know, you can't just knit a flat stockinette scarf because it'll never stay flat. And it will drive you, or me in this case, insane when it rolls up to like half of its width. So that's this scarf. I used a stunning tweed. I love it so much. It's beautiful. This is Blue Sky Fibers yarn. Aran weight tweed. I didn't log the yarn that I used because I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy knitting. I enjoy knitting. I don't think there's anything else to say about this. I would like to re-knit it, but because it is January in Colorado, AJ wears it all the time, so I'm probably going to frog it and knit it into a, I don't know, a rib of some sort, a 1x1. I was thinking maybe a 3x3. I don't know, make things crazy. Really change it up. I just want it to be flat because I think wide scarves are wonderful and nice and they keep you so warm. So once he isn't wearing this as much and like the snow goes away a little bit, I will re-knit it. I'm not in a super hurry. You'll see shortly. I am knitting for myself this year, so I'm in no hurry. I mean, it works, it keeps him warm, so yeah. The main point of this scarf was just to get used to knitting and purling because I found purling to be so daunting and now I don't mind it at all. I actually find it to be quite fun. I'm not a very fast purler, but I have been knitting quite a few seed stitch, moss stitch patterns, so I had to purl a lot this year. Next project, and genuinely the entire reason that I started knitting, is my step-by-step sweater by Florence, or handmade by Florence on YouTube. Oh my god. I have so much love for this sweater, even though it has so many problems, and I see the problems every time I wear it, but I do wear it a lot. It's so warm. So it's got that going for it. It has so many problems, but it's my first sweater, so yay, exciting. So like I said, I started knitting around Christmas-y time of 2022, and it was because the step-by-step sweater tutorial popped up on my For You page on YouTube. I don't know why. I'd never looked up knitting before, but I'm so happy that it did. I watched it a bunch and I got obsessed and knit up the scarf and then was able to knit up the sweater. If you have never knit before and are like, that's impossible, or that's crazy that you were able to do that. So thank you. But also, like, Florence made it so accessible, and I'm so thankful because she introduced me to like my favorite craft. I never put my needles down these days. I did not knit a gauge swatch. I watched her talk about gauge swatches, and that turned out to be a horrible pattern of mine through all of last year, but I did not knit a gauge swatch. I just knit with the recommended needle size with the exact same yarn that she recommended, which was Drops Nepal, which I hate. Do you see how much this is pilling? I have de-pilled this sweater so many times, and it's just horrendous. It's horrible. I cannot put this sweater down without it having new pilling, and it takes so long to de-pill it because it's everywhere. It's all over the sweater. Let's point out all my mistakes. She does show how to do jogless stripes in the video, and all that means is that you're not going to have a seam like I do. I did follow the tutorial. I just couldn't, my brain, it didn't wrap around what she was saying. I think I got the hang of it towards the end, but by that point, the seam was already there. Now it is in the center back, so like, does it matter? Not really. It's the least problematic thing about this sweater. So let's talk about the next one. The next thing I really don't like is that I stopped, when I was knitting this sweater, it's Aran weight. It knit up pretty quickly, and I was so excited that it was knitting up so quickly. So excited to the point that I was like, that's a long enough sleeve. Now, am I crazy? What the heck? How was that going to be a long enough sleeve? For me, I don't know. I had to undo the cuff and a bit of the sleeve so I could pick up stitches, and I obviously didn't know how to pick up stitches without twisting every single stitch. So both sleeves have very clear lines on where I twisted the stitches, and it drives me crazy every time. It's fine. This is less of a negative and more of a preference. She does talk about short rows, which I'm not sure if you can see the little shadow here where the turtleneck, the way that it sits, it creates kind of like a fold here. And I know that some people don't mind that. I do. I would love to make this again with the German short rows and nicer yarn. I want to make this a nicer yarn so bad, and maybe even like a folded turtleneck moment. That seems cute. Seems like it could be cute. I knitted up in Drops Nepal, like I said, in beige and light beige, which if it's not exactly the same colors that she knitted in, it's really close. Happy to have a neutral sweater. I then made the Stockholm slipover by PetiteKnit for my mom. I knit it in this pretty variegated orange color, which she loves. I was really proud of myself for doing pretty well on the pattern. It was my first time knitting short rows. All in all, I'd say it's pretty good. I mean, especially for my second garment, it's pretty amazing. I don't know what yarn I used. I know that it's obviously hand-dyed variegated yarn, which I don't love. I did make the same mistake several times where I would buy this very heavily variegated yarn because it looks so pretty as a skein. And in my head, I'm like, but this time I'll make it work. And I didn't, but that's okay. I actually don't mind the variegation on this specific yarn because they're all sort of in the same family, warm tones. It's cute, it's fun. My mom really likes it. If I could go back in time and change anything, it would be the pattern. I really like the pattern, but it's meant to be oversized, like a lot of PetiteKnit patterns. But this one's meant to be oversized. My mom likes her vest to be fitted. So I knit one size down, and there's just a little bit of gaping at the armholes, and I notice it every time. But I know my mom still wears it because when I FaceTime her, she'll be randomly wearing it. And I'm like, oh, she likes it. And that was back in January. So yeah, that was my Stockholm slipover. I really liked it. Next knit, we're gonna put another photo up. I knit a scarf for my sister based on a Pinterest photo that she showed me, which was really exciting because it was just garter stitch with a panel of stockinette, and I was like, I know both of those stitches. So that was fun. I knit using Blue Sky Fibers yarn in worsted weight. And that is about all I can tell you about that yarn. I didn't write down what yarn I used for it, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, that's the scarf that I made for my sister. That was early February, after which I knit something up for AJ again. So I knit my first socks. Now, a couple things. Couple things about this sock. If you know AJ, you might be saying, that's like a little big. And you would not be wrong. So he has pretty large feet. However, he does not have wide feet. And so I knit a size 13 because I thought, that's a shoe size. It says size 13. 13 is the width of the sock. He does not have very wide feet. So these are very loose on him. He still wears them, which is like so nice of him to do. I wouldn't wear them for several reasons. Them being too wide would definitely be a deal breaker. The yarn choice, not necessarily a deal breaker because I feel like I could wear them at home. I don't like this yarn. This was, again, and sorry for not knowing the yarn brand. I will in future projects when I started to take my knitting more seriously. But with this one, I just saw a pretty skein and I said, you know what? That's the one. It would have been better if I used a contrast heel and cuff, but I did not, so he has these. It is a superwash sock, so it's not gonna shrink in the wash, but I did try. I did try to shrink them in the dryer just by putting them in there and drying them. I wouldn't normally, I know it's superwash, so it's not going to shrink, but the idea of putting wool in the dryer, that's just not right. It's not right. But they didn't shrink, so I guess that speaks to the superwash quality of them. I kind of wish that I remembered what yarn this is because it is really soft. But I knit some socks. The next project is still a work in progress. I don't know if I'm ever gonna finish it, but I might. I'm gonna put a picture up here for what it's supposed to look like. It is the Flower Show blanket by Margaret Holzman. I agree, Kat. That's a knit blanket. 36 granny square pieces knit, not crocheted. The thought process behind that project was, showed my sister Ravelry and wanted to make her a graduation gift in 1 month. I was planning on knitting that in 1 month. Crazy, and like was never gonna happen, but I was so optimistic. I do have a couple squares done and they're cute. I have not woven in any of the ends. This is my favorite square. I love it. It also lays flatter than most of the squares. But yeah, the first square, I don't like this yellow. Thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, they are cute. They are very, very cute. And by the time my sister's just moved to a new state, so I've been thinking about what I could knit her. And we'll get to what I actually knit her. But by the time a couple months passed, she didn't really want the blanket anymore. So honestly, huge weight off my shoulders. This is definitely a blanket that I would love to have as like a throw on my bed because it's massive. But I also I don't know if I care enough to finish it. The way that it is knit is you knit the circle first and then you knit the petals separately, combining each petal, and then you have to knit the background, and then you have to connect the background with a border. That is a lot for one flower. It's a lot, it's so much. But yeah, I mean, the outcome, it's obviously gorgeous. So maybe someday, but it is unlikely. So if you are looking forward to me finishing this blanket, don't hold your breath. I don't know if it's gonna happen. What I made for my sister instead were some socks. The I'm So Basic socks by Summer Lee. And they're so cute. The variegated yarn, I could not get away from it the first half of last year. I loved it. I don't mind this color combination as much. I've got a contrast heel, cuff, and toe, so that makes it better. That being said, it's giving spring, which is nice, but it's mostly giving Easter and salad. Is anyone else saying salad? Because I am. Every time I look at these socks, it's giving like Soviet cabbage salad. Somebody please agree with me. It looks like salad, but that's fine. She wears them, she likes them, and that is all that matters because they're in her possession. So yeah, I liked those. Now you will notice that they are a bit loose. The I'm So Basic socks, if I'm remembering the pattern correctly, were pretty loose. Like they're not supposed to be too tight, I don't think. That being said, I still didn't understand sock sizing. So for this one, my sister has a shoe size 7, so I was like, cool, 7. Thankfully, that worked. But yeah, I now know what sock sizes in knitting patterns mean, which is great for all the rest of the socks that I knit this year. I'm So Basic socks. Whoa! Around the same time, I knit myself a cardigan. Yay, something for me. And I made the April cardigan by PetiteKnit. You might be thinking to yourself, Irma, why aren't you holding it up? It's a great question. I lost it. I know, Kat. I am also heartbroken. I can't believe that I don't know what happened to it, but one night in October, it was gone. Let's talk about the cardigan and all the things that I loved about it and why I will almost certainly knit this up again. So I want to put up a shoulder detail, that just gentle shoulder seam. I don't know what it's called, but my goodness. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. With this, I'm so sorry I didn't write down the yarn. But I did use a Sandisgarn fingering weight yarn. Don't know which one, or if they have multiple. And then I used a Surrey that my local yarn store had. And I loved it so much. It was so soft. It was wonderful. There were several issues with this cardigan, as there are with most things I made last year, but that's okay. The button band. I knit a double knit band. The double knit band is kind of heavy for it. I really like the structure for it though, so I don't know if I would change it when remaking it, but I loved it. My buttonholes are not even. They are not even at all. I remember pinning the specific spots that I wanted the buttonholes to be at, and they looked even to my eye. But clearly not. Those are not evenly spaced out buttonholes. I used these gorgeous antique glass buttons that I thrifted. They're so pretty and they're gone. Also, with the sleeve, I use shorties to knit my sleeves and anything that I could possibly need shorties for. This was my first time I believe, using shorties for a garment, and the tension was really tight in one spot. So it just kind of went like really tight here and then loosened up. But it wasn't so bad. After blocking, it wasn't that noticeable, I think, unless you're staring at that sleeve. So yeah, that's my April cardigan that is out there somewhere. And I hope that it has gone to a good home, I guess. The problems that I listed, I think that they're minimal. I don't know, uneven button bands. It looked so homemade that I didn't mind. It was definitely a little bit too cropped, but I still wore it all the time. It was the perfect like office cardigan. It was perfect in every way and I loved it. So yeah, I got a lot of wear out of it, even though I only had it for a couple months. So that was good. Yay for that. I had a couple failed projects and they were back to back. So let's talk about my failed projects. I have more successful projects afterwards. I'm just going in chronological order of when I made everything. So the first failed project is my Stockholm slipover for myself. Now, just why? You may recall I knit a Stockholm slipover for my mom using a fingering weight hand-dyed yarn. Earlier in the year, let's pop up that photo again. Look at that. I knew how to do it, and yet, here I was. I was so excited. Stupidly so, but excited nonetheless. I went on a road trip with AJ. We went to just some of the mountain towns nearby and stopped at the Yampa Valley Ranch, and it's so cute. The ranch, not this. It is such an adorable place. It's this couple that makes their own yarn. It's so cool, and I got to see their warehouse and how they make all their yarn and all the different processes that it goes through. It was incredible. And they have a little shop out front. So I bought this worsted weight yarn. It's just the yarns of the Yampa Valley worsted in the color Secretariat. This color, I don't know how I feel about it. It kind of gives me salmon or like old ground meat. I don't know why. I cannot get either of those images out of my head, but I will make something out of this because this was a great trip and I feel like it would be so fun to stop at local yarn shops whenever I'm traveling and buy and make something to commemorate that trip. That sounds really cute and fun. I'm not sure if I'm gonna make a vest out of this yarn. I do have more of it left. I did not knit a gauge swatch. And the reason I didn't knit a gauge swatch was because I had made this vest before and I thought I could do it again. Now, why I chose worsted weight, I don't know. I didn't knit a gauge swatch, obviously, otherwise I would not have made this vest. I couldn't tell you how I knit up the entire thing without thinking, there's something a little weird about this. It's not looking quite how it used to. I don't hate it. It could be better. I have not worn it a single time because it drives me crazy that I knit the wrong yarn thickness and the fit. It's just a little awkward. There isn't anything innately bad, but I can definitely tell that it's sitting weird. So I'm definitely going to make a Stockholm slipover for myself at some point, and this is going to lead into my next failed project, but I really need to find a pattern for a worsted weight vest because I made this same mistake twice. Let's talk about the next project. The Hobbiton vest by the incredible Fable Knitwear. Now, I kid you not, I knit up the entire vest. It fit horribly. This has an elastic at the armholes, as you may or may not have noticed. So this thing is, it's wide. It's meant to be fitted, and it is not at all. So I put an elastic in the hopes of trying to fix it, and it didn't. This pattern, I knit it. It was incredibly wide, so I sized down and re-knit it, and was genuinely like, okay, Fable Knitwear is not the designer for me. False, by the way, so false. I love her designs, but the pattern calls for fingering weight yarn. It does. It does. It says so right smack on the front page before you even buy it. And what is this? Worsted. It is worsted. I really want to make something out of this yarn. I don't know if you can tell, but this is the Noro Madara yarn in this stunning green. I don't know what the colorway is called, but it's the stunning green colorway that they have in this yarn. And it's just beautiful. It's got little orange speckles. I was trying to make this in time for Run Fair and failed miserably. I will be remaking it. I like it a lot. It's so cute. And I love hobbits, so I would love to own a Hobbiton vest. I did see that somebody knit this in a worsted weight yarn. So what I might do is size down and make a gauge swatch with this yarn and see if I can actually get away with using my beautiful Noro Madara yarn. I will give it another shot, but once I was done knitting this for a second time and then put the elastic thread in here and tried to make it work, I genuinely just put it into like the farthest corner of my closet. I couldn't look at it anymore. But yeah, second failed project. The next project is so cute. I knit the Seaside set by PetiteKnit for somebody that I knew who was having a baby. Was I close to this person? No, but I found out that they were having a baby and I saw the baby knits and I thought, now's my chance. It's so cute. I did write down my yarn. I used Malabrigo Ultimate Sock in Natural, and then the Manos del Uruguay Alegría in Building Block, which is the orange. I am obsessed with this little adorable baby set. It's so cute. I made the size 2 to 4 months because the baby was arriving like late fall, and so I figured hopefully this baby gets some use out of it during its first winter. I adore the button detail, the little button flap. It's so cute, and it was a fun challenge. It worked out really well. The little raglan detail with the raglan buttonhole, I can't get over it. It's the cutest little button band. I think I got better at doing the jogless stripes, which is good. It was definitely less scary because, as you can see, the stripes start lower down, so it's kind of once you're knitting the body and once you're knitting the sleeves, so it's really easy to start the beginning and end of the stripes because they're either at the underarm or the sides, so you don't really see them. So if I did mess up with the jogs, it was not noticeable. Knitting pants for the first time was insane. It was crazy. It was such a cool and fun construction. It was so different from anything else I had done. The only thing that I would have changed going back with the pants is knitting the fold over waistband at the same time as inserting the elastic. I didn't do that because I didn't have the elastic at the time, so it's okay. But it did make it just a little bit more challenging to sew the elastic in post, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it turned out super cute. I feel like with baby clothes, you can so easily get away with faux buttons, which is what we have on the little pants. It's so cute. It's cute. Honestly, it's cute. I knit the Moby sweater by PetiteKnit. I have such a complicated relationship with this sweater. I love the cables. Ooh, I love the yarn. Let me tell you about the yarn that I used. Noro Madara again in the colorway Uchigatana. Look at how beautiful. It is this gorgeous gray with colorful speckled tweed. I mean, it's beautiful. It's also the perfect texture. Like, it isn't too soft, it isn't too rustic, it's just nice. I love this yarn. I love this yarn so much. Time to be a negative Nancy. I hate this pattern. I love the cable charts. I think the cable charts are, I mean, obviously stunning. I think this motif is so beautiful with the mock cables and the beautiful cables going on each side. I mean, it's beautiful. It is, like, it's very, very stunning. The rest of the pattern, what is happening? Am I crazy? I don't know if the men's version of this pattern is particularly horrible compared to the women's version. It is incredibly oversized. So for reference, AJ normally wears a medium with the positive ease that PetiteKnit recommends for this. I would have knit an extra large, but I know that AJ doesn't like very oversized sweaters, so I went with a large. I was supposed to have 3 inches of positive ease. This is so much more than 3 inches of positive ease. It is so baggy on him. I knit and frogged and then fixed the sleeve. I knit up the first sleeve with the proper drop shoulder. You may notice that it is not drop shoulder, but it is a little weird Frankenstein shoulder instead, because I did not modify the pattern. I should have modified the pattern to be a standard shoulder, but I didn't. When I first knit the sleeves, it was horrendous. It was truly hideous. It didn't help that the rest of the sweater was kind of giving a baggy effect already, but the sleeves just weren't looking right at all. I did not like, and I'll put up a picture of what the sleeve normally looks like, but that break between the sleeve cables and the sweater cables, I couldn't stand it. I hated it. I do think that it would have been less ugly after blocking, because the cabling does, it flattens quite a bit. That being said, the drop shoulder looked horrible. It looked horrible on him. So I frogged the sleeve that I had finished and picked up stitches. And this does indeed have a little shoulder pad flap right here, but it isn't too bulky, so I don't care. I enjoyed it, but I was so excited for it to be done because it took a lot of time and effort. The sleeves are too wide. I don't like this pattern. It made me excited to knit cable knits in the future, but this is just not my cup of tea. It looks like AJ is drowning in it, and it's not necessarily because of how large it is, because it's not that big. It's the pattern. It just sits so weird. I don't like it. I don't like it. The sleeves are too wide. I think just overall it's very oversized, and I think going forward I now know what to look out for in a pattern. I think I would have to definitely look out for something that isn't oversized, and definitely a pattern that does not have a drop shoulder, because he is not a drop shoulder kind of guy. I'm excited to knit myself some cables this year, and we'll see how that goes. It did stretch as promised, because And by as promised, I mean the projects on Ravelry were like, oh my God, knit this to be short because it will stretch. So it was quite cropped on him, pre-blocking, stretched a lot. I think it stretched like maybe 4 to 5 inches after blocking, and I did not stretch it. I washed it and then I just laid it down on my mats. Water just made this expand so much in both width and length. So if you're gonna be knitting the Moby sweater, size down, especially if you're knitting the men's version. I don't even think that a medium would have worked out. I kind of think I would have had to go with a small, which is crazy because the pattern wants me to knit an XL. So what the heck? What the heck? I decided last year that I was going to knit my family Christmas socks. All of them. Now there's 4 of them. I've got brother, sister, mom, and grandma who I knit socks for. And I don't regret it because they turned out to be absolutely stunning and beautiful, and yeah, they turned out lovely. We did have some special requests. You will see that the socks grow in length as I talk about the ones that I made, but let's start off with the first pair. I did decide on the same lace pattern, which is the Mercury socks by Kim Drotar. These were free. I'm sorry. This is a free pattern. If you are new to lace socks, I could not recommend these enough. They are beautiful, they are simple. If you enjoy lace socks and want to knit up something that's simple but still looks incredibly intricate, it's only a 5-row repeat. These are gorgeous. These are gorgeous. This pair is knit in Malabrigo Ultimate Sock. I had about half a skein of the natural left from the Seaside set baby knit that I made. I love this yarn. I love this sock. I did buy a second skein, so my sister and I will have matching socks, which makes me so excited. But yeah, this is the first pair. Gorgeous, beautiful, love it. Could not recommend this pattern enough. The next 2 are going to be the Mercury sock as well. The next pair has grown in length quite a bit. I made below the knee socks for my mom. This sock is from a brand called Viking Fiber Co. It is a hand-dyed sock in this gorgeous colorway called Freya's Cloak. I love hand-dyed yarn. Now, I was kind of in a rush when buying the sock yarn, so I didn't know that this was hand-dyed, but it does make sense price-wise. Now, I did not block this sock or any of these socks yet. I will because I want to know if this will soften after being blocked. I don't like the texture of this yarn. I'm a sucker for Norse mythology, so when I saw the names and the fact that there was a Nordic collection and the sock was called Freya's Cloak, I had to get it. I had to get it. I do think that this color really does make the lace pop, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful, but it's not as soft as the Ultimate Sock Malabrigo yarn, which makes me sad. It's got the same ratio of superwash, merino, and nylon, so I don't know why. By this point, I figured out sizing, so that's good. I do hope that these fit, and the reason I say that is because although my mom gave me her measurements, she decided once I was at the toe of sock 1 that she wanted below the knee socks. So all I did was just unraveled until I got to the leg part and just kept knitting. The reason I did that was because she said she wants her socks to be really tight, like compression tight. I don't know if these are gonna fit. I'm gonna find out in a couple weeks. Wish me luck. Hopefully they do because they took a lot of work. Second pair of Mercury socks. So for my grandma, she's getting thigh-high socks. Our queen, I love her. Also in this gorgeous Mercury sock pattern, I feel like you can't see it as well as the colors get darker. And also this is an alpaca blend. Now it's not superwash, so they're gonna have to hand wash it, but I think that's okay because it is so soft. This is the Juniper Moon Harriet Fine yarn. It's so soft. I'll put up a picture of me trying it on. It's not stretched out to its potential on my legs, but I'm very happy with how they turned out. For starters, I had to try them on. My granny and I have the same shoe size, and I was just so excited to try these on once I was done because they really are so beautiful. They're so pretty. I don't know if I would make this again for myself. A couple things to note. You may have noticed that there are decreases and it's a bit slanted here, and that's because I have decreases in this sock, and it was intentionally put at the center back because I did mess it up the first time, but I've got a little center back seam. I figure it's not a problem because it's on the back. The decreases using this or a lace pattern was so complicated, so I'm really proud of myself that I managed to do it. I think she's going to love it. These are not going to be tight on her. They're going to be, I think, the perfect fit if everyone measured themselves correctly. So I'm excited. I'm excited for my granny to wear these. They're so beautiful. I'm really proud of myself on these because I had to do decreases on lace, and that was complicated and challenging and something I hadn't done before. These are the last of the Mercury socks, carrying on to the last thing I knit this year. So the last pair of socks is for my brother. I finished this, I think, on New Year's Eve. It's in black, man. While I was knitting the orange, the beige, whitish, and the green socks, I just had this ultimate sock, Malabrigo, in black, sitting, wound up, just waiting for me to knit it up. And I was so excited. I don't know why. I don't know why I was excited, because I've seen knitters talk about black yarn and how it's not ideal because you can't see the detail, and you can't. I'm assuming from back here, it's looking like a black hole. Hopefully you can see that it is a ribbed sock and there is some detail to it. I kind of hate these socks because they're so boring. They are so boring. If I knit my brother some socks in the future, they're gonna have to be navy blue, they're gonna have to be gray, brown, I don't know, not black. I really wanted him to have a staple that he would wear often, so I am glad that I made these. And I made these using another free sock pattern. I think it's just called a nice ribbed sock. Can confirm it is a nice ribbed sock. It was so difficult not to put in like a little hot pink contrast toe or literally anything. I needed the sock to have something for me to look forward to, and it didn't. I've shown this to my family at this point. They'll be getting their Christmas gifts in late January when I see them, so it's okay. But the compliment of it looks store-bought really irked me with this one, because it does. Like, not in a good way to me. To me, this feels like you can go to Nordstrom and find a nice pair of wool socks, but can you go and find a nice pair of Mercury lace socks? Probably not. And that's why I found these to be so boring. I'll maybe someday knit something in black yarn, but not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. So that's the last thing I knit last year. As I've filmed this, I've noticed that I had a recurring theme. Where are knits for me? You know? Especially because I lost my beloved April cardigan, I really only had the step-by-step sweater that I knit as my first garment. So 2024, We are manifesting knitting for myself, and I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. It is January 8th, and I finished my Mercury socks a couple days ago in the Malabrigo Ultimate Sock and Natural to have matching socks with my sister because I had plenty of that yarn left. So that's exciting. That's very exciting. I have not had a hand knit pair of socks until a couple days ago. I'm hoping that this year is going to be the first year that I do some color work. I love color work sweaters, but I find them to be really horrifying. So hopefully I'll make myself some color work stuff this year. I very much want a pair of color work mittens. I think that would be so cute. And I've also never knit a hat before. And I feel like a beanie is something that a lot of beginners start with. So I feel like it could be done. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.